we're all tempted with the thought of time travel and just kind of musing in our own minds. I wish I could have changed that. That's called regret. And sometimes living with regret is not a bad thing. It teaches you an inner lesson. Hey everybody, it's Jason and Rachel for Weatherford Daze. It has been destined and decreed and fated for this episode to happen.
Okay.
I don't know why I said that.
Yes, you do.
Kind of. Okay. So last week we talked about responsibility and duty and all those things where you have to get up early in the morning and go to work and finding your calling in that. And I still found it hard to get up in the morning and go to work this week, even though we talked about duty and all that. But
I don't think we've gotten past time change yet.
Well, depending on what time that you're listening to this, there will be officially daylight savings time that we officially go with, or we just ignore it and don't do it. I don't know.
Are they supposed to be voting on it soon or something?
I don't know. Do they even vote on anything anymore? They just have someone say, "I decree it," and it is so, and then we have to deal with it.
Like, there's several states that have voted on it, but it has to be like in the Senate. They have to do it for it to go into effect.
I wonder if the farmers will have a big trouble with it. Anyway, but for right now, it is for your intents and purposes, it's daytime, and it's daytime here too. Wink. But so why did I say what I
need to just?
Yeah, I know.
We just need to give up and be like, it's nighttime, and then start posting at night from now on. Because
I don't know, daytime is good because people are around about and they're just doing their day, and so they see us. I don't know when people pick us up, and whenever we post, I guess.
Like, people are watching us anyway. We're still in the beginning stages. We can do whatever we want.
We're a baby toddler that's in the terrible twos, and he's pulling things off of shelves and stuff.
We're not even in the twos yet.
We're not in the twos. Okay, so we're still needing, the little baby food and the little mashed green beans and stuff, green peas. I was thinking.
What are we talking about?
Okay. Oh, subject. We haven't even talked about what we're talking about that. Okay. So I was thinking about fate and destiny and how the different things that are connected to that, like prophecies and things that have been long foretold in the ancient documents, and then
the chosen one.
Oh, the chosen one. Remember we talked about the choosing one and the chosen one, and how I kind of had a love-hate relationship with the chosen one thing. I think my younger self was like, yeah, it's really cool. But myself now is kind of like, I'd rather you have the prophecy and I choose to either be the chosen one or support the chosen one and be the unsung hero.
And we're going to all I can hear now when I hear the chosen one is like the series about Jesus, the chosen. And I'm like, that's a difference, I guess, between the chosen disciples and the chosen one, who was Jesus.
Yes,
who was prophesied and foretold, and
there you go. Okay.
Like ultimate, the chosen one, right?
The number one prophesied. Fate and destiny. Yes, and we could ultimately for me, and my faith and my knowledge of it, he's the most prophesied individual in history and meets the criteria of all the different things that were prophesied about him. And, we could go on and on about we could do a whole series on that. But
you were saying that you had a love-hate relationship with the chosen one concept.
Yeah, the trope or cliche.
In books and movies, I legit have a love-hate relationship with just the whole idea of prophecy. And I was thinking about it because
fantasy.
We know about prophecy, and we ultimately, Jesus, God, he was the prophesied one. The whole concept of Revelations, the Bible is so full of prophecies.
Abraham was given a prophecy that he would be the father of many nations.
Even in the Garden of Eden, there was the prophecy that her children will bruise your head and you will bruise their heel.
You'll step on his head and bruise your heel. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sorry, I misquoted that a bit. But Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
that's good. That's good.
But
I know what you're talking about. I think they do too if they know.
well, yeah, or they could find out fairly easily. You can put the scripture on the
Right,
thing.
right here.
That's great. Oh, right.
I'll hold it in my hands. Right there. No.
Can we
Okay.
make it really big so we can both hold?
Hey, you know, I can do that. Yeah. I can
No,
do
but
anything.
like the Bible just does it so well, the way that prophecy works. And there's a lot of times in books that prophecies happen that I'm like totally fine with. But then there's other times when I feel like the author tries to out clever himself with prophecies.
Or herself, yeah.
Yeah.
Themselves, whatever.
Okay.
I get it.
I
I get it. You're fine.
feel like the ones who do prophecy and don't take it quite as seriously tend to be women, and the ones that take prophecy really, really seriously and tend to annoy me with it tend to be men. And like in Dune, that prophecy gets so convoluted and messed up and it's taken so seriously that it actually annoys me. I hate the prophecy in Dune.
Well, I'll explain my theory and what I see about that prophecy, and you might even see it as more of as a strike back at prophecies in general.
It might be. I'm thinking about another series that has prophecies
Wheel
that
of
takes
Time
Wheel
might
of
have
Time.
it.
Yes, that was exactly what I was thinking because he just gets so complicated with it and tries to be clever. I feel like it's just that really
What is it called?
trying to be
What
clever
is this mythical
that
figure called? He's called the dragon of something or no?
the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know a lot about the series, but I know everybody's like, I wonder who the Dragon Reborn is. Is it Randall Thor or who is it?
Oh, well, they like
I
you
guess it
find out
is.
who the
Yeah.
Dragon Reborn is pretty early on. But prophecies that I'm okay with that are slightly clever would be like Harry Potter.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got, yeah, it was the whole thing of it got a little convoluted because it's not just a straight up prophecy
No,
that happened. It was, there was a prophecy, but in the prophecy, you have that he kind of chooses who, it will be.
that takes him out.
Right. So
His ultimate nemesis in a way.
Voldemort actually ends up picking between Harry and Neville Longbottom.
Neville. Yeah.
Right. So he creates his own prophecy loop or
Well,
something. I don't know.
is he kind of creating his own demise because
Yeah.
whatchamacallit, because of the
Because if he
Horcrux thing?
hadn't, yeah, if he hadn't created the extra Horcrux by attacking Harry's parents, and if Harry's mom hadn't sacrificed herself the way that she did, which gave Harry protection from him,
Hmm.
he would have been able to take out Harry way earlier. And he had to go through extra steps that he created for himself, the complexity of it. But
That a
anyway.
lot. Well, yeah, that seems more like, you know when they have a game and you have to do these different things to actually beat the final boss. Is he's creating the steps that you take to defeat himself, which is the final boss. So I don't know if that's quite a prophecy to me. I think it's kind of like the only one who can destroy him, it would have to do this. It's kind of a secret to taking him out. And so his different choices are either complicating that process or simplifying it.
And you've got in that the whole concept of like only hearing half the prophecy, just like you have in we talked about before the Chronicles of Narnia. Like the White Witch
Oh, there's
only
one in
knew
there too.
half
Yeah.
of the deep magic, which in essence was, the rules for how this world was going to work. But there was kind of a prophecy in that.
Yeah.
It
And it's based
was
off of it has the Christian elements of, and of course
mhm.
C.S. Lewis is inspired by the Bible, and Aslan is the name of Jesus in another world. So of course those are going to be the true prophecies, the true myth. Remember we talked about the true myth.
Mhm.
It's going to be baked in there. And honestly, because of the respect I have for the prophecies in the Bible, especially the Old Testament as well,
Mhm.
I don't really fault the prophecy angle in Chronicles of Narnia. And I think in a lot of the other ones, they want it, like you said, they want to be clever, and they write themselves into a corner, or
Mhm.
they forget who they wanted the prophecy to be in the first place. What is the one with a Willow? Willow's another one because they're like, oh, they have to have this special birthmark and da 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 da
Hmm.
da.
Well, a lot of times the problem comes with just the very nature of prophecy is that people are going to try to figure out what it means ahead of time, and they're going to get it convoluted and tangled. And then you have the whole concept of if there hadn't been the prophecy and you trying to either stop the prophecy or make the prophecy happen, would it have even happened?
Those are also some things that
Like, think about Percy Jackson.
those are also time travel stories. Bring that into play. We could talk about that
Hmm.
later. But okay. Percy Jackson, doesn't that have prophecies in it too?
Yeah, the very first
And the
one, the
author
lightning
is
thief.
a male. So does that fit your does that fit your criteria of ones that are infuriating, or is he does he buck the
Very
trend?
slightly, but he does. I think he probably does it better than some, at least
Okay.
in the first ones. I feel like
I
the
think
further
it
he gets
loses its
on,
way with the series. You've mentioned
yeah,
that
the
to me
further he
before.
gets on in the series, the more he kind of loses his way. The lightning thief, which is the first one,
First three books
which
actually are
has
pretty
the
decent.
oracle and stuff in it,
The
and
ultimate prophet is the
yeah,
Oracle, and of course they're gonna
but you've got the prophecy aspect of, he's trying to figure out who's going to betray him and who's going to be left behind, and all of these things that they just prophecies are never meant to be clear cut, it seems like. And yet I feel like that's one of the things that gets a bit frustrating with the way we write. We tend to write prophecies because we don't want people to figure them out too easily. Whereas I feel like in the Bible, they weren't as confusing necessarily. And yet we're looking at most all of them from a already fulfilled
yes,
perspective. So of course they're not going to be confusing from our perspective, except for the ones in Revelation, which
they still haven't come to pass according to many people. So, well, you said they're not confusing. I'm like, or they, or we kind of have an idea of how they're fulfilled. Well, there's a group of people that we inherited our faith through the line that still are looking for the fulfillment
mhm,
of prophecy. There are some of those prophecies that are about Jesus that are so on the nose that they're often overlooked on purpose. And I think prophecies they come often as dreams. I'll bring it back to this.
mhm.
They come as dreams, and they're almost open to interpretation in some ways. They are not so, like you said, clear cut. They're not an actual clairvoyant vision of something literally happening. Like a camera. Like you put a
Well, I
camera and a
guess
tripod down and film something and send it back in time. That's not what it's like.
you look at,
It could be easy. They made it easy on
yeah, I guess that is one of the things that frustrates people sometimes with Christianity
you.
and with the way that God revealed himself. When the disciples were kind of frustrated by the way that he was talking and
You're talking about in parables?
right in
Okay.
parables and not just the clear cut thing, I think is what I'm thinking about, because you're going to have to do the loading screen for me
Yeah,
too
no,
here
it's
for a
fine. It's
second.
fine.
No, okay. When you think about the way that God reveals, it's both clear
Mhm.
and understandable and easy enough for a child to grasp concepts, and yet so difficult that wise men have spent their entire lives digging and researching and trying to figure out the meaning. You have such a spectrum of concepts that are like, well, what did Jesus mean when he said that you have to eat my body and drink my blood? The
I still struggle with that mystery to this day because of a lot of the Catholic videos you have online and Protestant, and they
all
kind of
of these
yeah.
concepts that have divided Christians and Jews and believers, I guess we'll just say there, those who are trying to follow after and understand God. that have divided us for thousands upon thousands of years, that God has been revealing himself. And it seems like it should be so easy to understand, and then it's not. And it's like,
Well,
why did you do this to us,
the
God?
simple nature of the gospel is understandable, and then as you dig deeper, you find the jewels and things like that. That's why I don't really think that I'd say new or baby Christian, I know that's a little bit, but Jesus even said these little ones. He said little ones. He's called new believers little ones, and and little ones you're supposed to protect and be precious over them. I firmly believe, I'm not a pastor, but I firmly believe that you keep the gospel simple, but also there's layers to it. And as God leads you to walk in that, we can dig deeper into that. But you have to kind of let them, give them a foundation. You don't just go, here's Revelation. It's got beasts that come out of the water and all these different crowns and dragons. And you're like, you don't, I mean, it can make people go, well, we're going to factionalize because of a prophecy that is unclear, 100% unclear. You talked about, we're going to factionalize over that. And we're going to have this group that believes this post this and this pre and this mid thing. And you're like, I used to be into a lot of that. And to maintain sanity, I keep coming back to the simplicity of the gospel.
I think that you have to maintain that. It's the tension between those two, the complexity and the simplicity, that you have to find where that meets, because we need both. There's this thing of just going, there's so much here that is just plain and that's simple and that's understandable, and we don't need to lose that. But there's also so much richness and depth to be found by digging deeper and deeper. And we can spend our entire lives searching and just renewing that wonder of how complex and mighty and incredible God is.
Humbling as well.
Because it's so much bigger than we are.
Well, the complexity, I don't want to shy away. I'm all, hey, you know me. You may not know me, but she does. So I don't shy away from a little bit. I don't shy away from the complexity of it all. But I find that I used to be attracted to the stuff that's going to happen in the future. I mean, my mom has got pictures of things that I drew when I was, but I think honestly that was just my inner lover of fantasy. I mean, the Bible has dragons in it. Ooh, cool. Look, okay. But my modern sensibilities have looked at the complexities of present gospel and past, what God has done in the past. Like what are some of the early things, mysteries that we can look into, and the future. I have to just trust in God and put it in God's hands, because it's sometimes too big for me. It's kind of like thinking of the future of your children. I don't know what my kids are going to do, but what I can do in the now, I can help build that foundation with them and love them and understand them in the now. And God, I will trust God to handle the future. The verse was, I'm just going to read it and you're going to be like, yes. Okay. I hope so. It's Proverbs 25:2, and you were basically almost quoting it. It is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings to search it out. And I have heard that God doesn't hide things from you. He hides things for you. And that's what the word, we use the word, oh, it's an apocalypse. And you talk to a person out of the street and you say, oh, an apocalypse is coming. They're going to say, oh, no, no, apocalypsos means uncovering, revealing. Why do we think we get the word revelations? Because it's things that have been revealed. They're revealed to St. John of Patmos. So apocalypsos just means uncovering things. So things that have to be covered or mysterious to begin with. You can't, it's a magic trick. You can't, just show everybody how you do it. You cover things up and then you go, ooh, You reveal the magic. So it's
Isn't it fun?
God's hiding it for you, not from you.
Mm.
I'm
I
sorry.
think
What's fun?
I think it's fun how God, like how much humans seek to recreate what God does and the way that he revealed himself. Like some of the things that we find the most fun, like are just they're copies of
Can you give
him.
me some examples? I'm feeling you, but
Well,
I
I
want
mean,
to.
I was
What do you
just
mean?
thinking about the whole revealing himself through prophecies and
Hmm.
you know, he did that. And I feel like when we write books about prophecy, that we're just kind of copying God, you
What was it
know?
that? Well, it said that the Jewish people, or it said the people, when it came closer to the time that Jesus was the Advent, is they were waiting in anticipation. There was this palpable anticipation,
Hmm.
and I think that prophecies in fiction are a manifestation of that. Lots of big words. Manifestation of that palpable anticipation. It's
And it was
it's
also
coming, it's
his
coming, it's coming
way.
soon. It's that.
Yeah, it was also his way, not just of building anticipation, but
Hmm.
of proving himself and his omniscience. You have to have something that's bigger than what we're capable of. I feel like in order to just kind of like you have to believe this. There's literally no other choice. That's why Jesus performed miracles, right? That's
Hmm.
why God had these prophecies from the very start of creation that he wove throughout the Bible. This is the way that I am revealing myself to you and proving that I know what's coming, that I have a plan, and that you can trust me.
There's some prophecies that Jesus makes, and it's in. I'm saying it's somewhere. It's Matthew, somewhere in 24, 25. Somewhere I know it's in the 20s, but it's the famous 70 AD prophecy. And what it
Mm,
is he prophesies that the temple will be torn down. And of course, he's also talking about the temple of his
about the
body,
abomination of
desolation.
desolation.
Yeah. And a lot of these things, the many people learning apologetics will point to 70 AD as when, but of course, Jesus, died. They mapped that around 30 to 35, AD, around in there, depending on when
Mhm.
you think he actually was born. That's after he ascended. Some people who are basically trying to poke holes in in the Bible, and that the prophecy is almost so on point that I've read people, I guess I don't know if Bart Ehrman does it, but different people will say, well, that proves it right there that of course whoever wrote the book of Matthew did that. It's dated post
Mhm.
75.
Mhm.
But the interesting thing is there's not elements that happened after 70 to 75 that aren't written in there. So wouldn't it behoove them to write little bits in there that back up that prophecy a little bit more? No, they date it earlier. It's dated earlier, but they use that element of the fact that the prophecy is so on point that of course it was written after the fact. And again, that just shows you right there, people are willing to do all kind of jump through hoops. So they want to know what's going to happen. That's what I was getting at. Is that there's an obsession with
There were
people
a
to.
ton of prophecies around Trump too. Do you remember that? That
Yes, I
was
do. Yep.
wow,
Hmm.
crazy.
So that's just the average person obsessed with prophecy, and of course there are in the charismatic circles, people are having new prophecies, and like you talked about, prophecy about the president or whatever.
Hmm.
And I'm highly skeptical about a lot of that. When it comes to prophecies that are in books, I think, and I mentioned this earlier, I wanted to mention this real quick, is you said you didn't really like the one from Dune, and the reason why I don't like the one from Dune is because, and I think this is probably the reason why Tolkien doesn't like Dune. I think did Tolkien say he didn't like Dune?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I honestly think because Dune is more of a world that is reflective of many of our natures that we have now. Remember how we talked about in the space episode, we talked about the expanse and how we have opportunities for our higher natures to come in, but we are humans and we're flesh beings, and we be carnal in our choices. We still will fracture and fight amongst ourselves. In Dune, you have 10,000 years of history
Mm.
that this group of women and people, the Bene Gesserits, have been seeding elements of their religion amongst people. Their beliefs are that there is the universe's super being that's going to come called the Kwisatz Haderach, and this universe's super being will be able to drink the water of life and not die. And that's the water of life is made from the blood of a newborn worm or something. I'm getting it all wrong. The prophecy involves the planet Arrakis, otherwise aka Dune. This belief system has been so seeded in the galaxy that there are variations of it amongst different groups. The Fremen of Arrakis have their own part of that legend, and they're named for the Lisan al Gaib. That's Arabic phraseology. So you have elements of
Mm.
like a far off, almost a Buddhist future Islam kind of thing, and they're looking for like just like current Islam is looking for a promised one or whatever to come. So back to this prophecy has been seeded out there, and they're making it come to pass. The Bene Gesserits are trying to create this bloodline. They told Lady Jessica that she should only have, was it females? And I don't know
Mm.
how, she just went, I guess she went, me, and she made them. It's never explained this. It said you were told only to have females and you had a male. And I'm so mad at you about that. I'm like,
No,
how does she?
they have the ability with their magic to determine the gender of their children.
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
because she was like thinking about a little boy be so cute, and it just happens. I mean, you lost your focus. I was like, that's so weird. But anyway, Dune is weird. Go figure. But what it is
I think that's why
prophecy as manipulation is what I was trying to get to. Is
there's a lot that's really interesting about Dune. And yet, to me, it will never become one of my favorites. And I know that, there's so many people that absolutely love it, but
I don't love it. I like it. I think I respect it. I
they fall
understand
into
it
the
to an
world.
extent. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, we talked about the Wheel of Time too, another one that's got a lot of prophecy that people fall into that world and just kind of, this becomes one of their best fictional works of all time because the world is so complex. That's one of the things that I love about Tolkien is just how complex his world is, how he's got this whole history and languages, and there's so much to the world. And I really love when authors do that. I think the thing that Tolkien does that the
Mm.
others don't do is he has these moments of wonder and of beauty where there will be, hardship and darkness and trials and tribulations that your people are going through. And then you just stumble into beauty and into something that's just so pure and so wonderful that it makes you cry. They're sprinkled throughout. And he knew how to do that and how to have the pacing where they had a respite from the dark.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is one of the things that Tolkien does, that he knew that people needed that humans needed that. And I think that was just kind of a key in his works, that he understood how to take people through hardship, through times of pushing and of trying, and then give them breaks. Even when you've got Sheila which is one of
Yeah.
the darkest chapters, because you've actually got, you've got the attack, you've got the betrayal by Gollum, where he sets them up to face this giant spider monster. And Frodo is fighting it. Sam gets, yeah, Frodo's actually like sent Sam away at the very beginning. He thinks that Sam's betrayed him. So Sam is not there when Frodo gets attacked. Sam happens, upon Frodo after he's already been paralyzed. Sam thinks he's dead. You've got all of this that's just terrible that's happening. And I can remember the first time reading it. I was around 12, just wanting to throw the book at that point, going, I can't, it's just too awful. But then you see the vial of Galadriel that he pulls out, and it's the light from the star, and he's saying these words that he doesn't even understand. Elbreth Athoniel, where he's actually just kind of transported out of himself at that time. And you get this beauty that's so overwhelming in that moment that it breaks your heart. And yes, then he defeats Shelob, and it's that moment that you have in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the darkness, where there's this beauty and this hope and this knowledge that they had what they needed in the moment, that they needed it, that turned the tide, that made the difference. It was the difference between failure and the end of the world, literally, and being able to save and redeem the world. And there's those moments sprinkled throughout the book. I don't know. I mean, are there those moments in Dune? There have to be some. Maybe they aren't as well done or aren't as memorable.
No. I don't think there are. There are elements when Paul Atreides is starting to. It seems like he's starting to. Oh, let me be this prophesied person they're looking for, but he starts having the abilities, and his mind starts opening and almost seeing there's a truth to this prophecy, and I am becoming. I tried to use it. My mom was like saying, "Hey, maybe we can, use this to somehow bring the fight to the Harkonnens." And he starts coming into his own. He starts stepping into this role and really getting the Fremen on his side. So there's an upswing to that. It starts getting more complex and challenging, but he really starts taking it to the Harkonnens, and they're like, who is this guy? So you're kind of like, all right, here we go, let's go. That's kind of a respite. But the thing that you were talking about Lord of the Rings, there wasn't really a prophecy about that Frodo would be the one to put, the ring in Mount Doom. It was Gandalf was saying sometimes the smallest things, he sees the benefit in this, but there's not some prophecy they're going with. The only prophecy I know about is the sword that once was broken is being reforged, and the return of the king of God, would come. That's the only prophecy, and of course the last book is Return of the King. So there wasn't really a prophecy about the ring. All those things were, we know what this ring is, and we know how to. And there wasn't some old ancient document telling them, well, here's how you have to come into this role. Frodo is going, I have to do this, and he's not doing this because he's not doing it because of a document or something that said he is the choosing one. There isn't a chosen one with that, except Aragorn. I would say Aragorn is the main chosen one, because it can't be anybody else but him. It can't be Boromir. It can't be Faramir. Even Boromir, it's heartbreaking with the arrows in him. Is saying, my king. It's like, when he recognizes it's not going to be me. It's not me. It's not my brother. It's you,
Because it was a bloodline.
Yes.
That they were looking for and waiting for.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate kind of prophecy. But Frodo chose to do this because he was like, because the corruption wouldn't reach him. And
there was no guarantee that the corruption wouldn't reach him.
Well, that there was a thought that maybe But again, nothing was guaranteed. There was no
I think
guarantee of success
Gandalf
with a prophecy saying you're going
knew
to succeed.
that what they needed was somebody that was more simple, that didn't have power of their own for the ring to corrupt. Because the ring took what was inside people and corrupted it and twisted it. And so he needed to have someone that
Even Gandalf or Galadriel would have been twisted by the ring.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, they would have been. But he knew that what was needed was somebody that was simple enough, that didn't have power, that was not looking for or craving power. And that was something that was unique in the hobbits, is that they loved and they cherished the simple. They liked home, they liked good food, just the simple comforts of life. They did not want anything to do with controlling other people, with any of the power. They loved the simple, and that was why the ring didn't have anything to work against. So we've now talked a lot about the Bible, and we've talked a lot about the Lord of the Rings, which doesn't have fate really in it.
Yeah.
Somewhat fate. We talked about a lot of different books.
The Matrix, there's an actual prophecy in that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the main character Neo is told by the here's an oracle again. The oracle says, she goes, "Oh, let me look at you." No. And she goes, here's what she says, "And I'm going to say," and she goes, "I'm not it." She says, "Sorry." Mm-hmm. And the thing is, later you find out she says exactly what you needed to hear, and you needed to be the choosing one and to choose to be the chosen one, because he makes that mental change. That's a prophecy movie. Prophecy gets more convoluted as the series goes. That's why I like the first one the best. But that one, that's a definite. I mean, his name is Neo. Flipped around, it's the one. He's called the One. I mean, what more chosen one movie could you get? So I think that we've looked at prophecy we've looked at clouds from both sides now. So my question is, what are some other things that you can think of that really jump out at you with regard to fate, destiny, and prophecy?
I feel like I like the concept of destiny a lot more than I like the concept of prophecy in most cases. Like, I love the way that the Bible does prophecy because there's a very definite purpose for it. I understand what God was doing when he did prophecy. But a lot of books that I've read, fictional books that have prophecies, I feel like they just kind of they fall flat because they confuse things to the point where you never really know whether something happened because it was prophesied or whether it would have happened anyway. It's like it becomes the butterfly effect of did the prophecy make it happen, or did the prophecy simply foretell it?
Yeah, those are things that come up a lot in time travel stories and movies, where there's even a theory about the nature of time with regard to what are called paradoxes. There's a couple of them. A lot of times people will focus on different times in history, and they'll pick a very pivotal.
Sorry.
We all have time. They'll pick a time, and I'll tell you that some of them are like the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, or JFK, or the really evil mustache man from the 30s. Their thought was, if we get rid of, and a lot of people do a lot of stories about that guy, you know who he is. If he were to be taken out, what would happen? And there's actually a theory within story where another person will take their place, and history will somewhat like it'll like write itself. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And the way that is that means that there was always meant to be. It can't have happened any other way because it did. So that's how some people are even saying we know time travel will not be invented in the future because things are as they always have been. But of course, how do we know?
Yeah, that's when time travel starts to get really annoying to me. It's like I like the concept
I love
of
alternate
time
reality
travel.
stories, especially.
I don't.
I like alternate reality because what they do is they they picture what would happen if things went this way rather than that way, and extrapolate. An author I really like, and I recommend, is Harry Turtledove is his name. It's a great name. But Harry Turtledove, his stuff is just fantastic. I think he's one of the kings of alternate history stories. Another famous one that there's actually an Amazon Prime series on is called The Man in the High Tower. And that is basically based off of what if the Germans won and the Japanese and Axis powers won World War II? What would it be like? What if somebody finds out that they're in an alternate universe and that it went the other way in that other universe, and they have data to prove that it did? So what that tells them is we can change this, or it doesn't have to be like what it was there. And I haven't finished the series, so don't tell me. But I'm finding it fascinating, but I'm finding a lot of things fascinating. So I have to come back to that ADD. I find alternate history interesting because it's the ultimate what if.
I guess I like when you actually get to see the alternate history. I think the thing that frustrates me the most about time travel stuff is when you start out with this concept of like, okay, I can time travel, which means that I actually have the capacity to do something which I've always wanted to do, which is change history, change my fate, right? It gives you this idea of, oh, I have some control, I have some ability to do something. And
undo mistakes.
Right. But when you actually have that, and you have a situation created where they're going in and they're trying and they're striving, and then at the end, they actually aren't able to change anything because it's kind of, you've got this whole concept of like,
It's
well,
been
this
fated.
is just, it's fated. There's
Sacred
no
timeline.
changing. And everything that
Loki.
you've done has only been a part of what always has been. So it's this complete futility of trying to change something. I don't love that.
I think it's a depressing way of saying that.
And maybe it's
there's a lesson
you're trying to accept.
Yeah,
the past.
acceptance is it. Because here's the thing, I want everybody that's watching this to think about your life and your past. If you could go back and change something that occurred, that happened, would you go back and change it? A time of pain that you want. We all have regrets and things we wish we could have done better or differently.
We all have things that we learned from it.
Exactly. I always use a quote from Captain James T. Kirk from the movie Star Trek V, Final Frontier. There is a chance for a character to quote, take away your pain of your past. And he says, what about you, Captain? And he says, I need my pain. Because his pain of his past made him the man he is today. He's older Kirk, so he kind of has this acceptance. He's accepting that he made some decisions that, were they to be undone, it would change who he is as a person. I think that that's a very mature way of looking at it. So we're all tempted with the thought of time travel and just kind of musing in our own minds. I wish I could have changed that. That's called regret. And sometimes living with regret is not a bad thing. It teaches you an inner lesson about that. I think that's a good lesson. You said that you hate the futility of those time travel stories, but that's a good lesson to take from that. But it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I guess I maybe have learned the lesson of not saying that I don't like something, because then immediately we're going to talk about how it's important and how they're actually, we need to have those lessons.
Well, there's good in the terrible. I try to look for a silver lining because I don't like coming out of a bad situation and not learning something. And I like, because it makes it futile.
I like the fact that there are so many different stories that approach life and truths from so many different ways. And if we have to use something like fate and prophecy and time travel and all of this, trying to change things, because every single story is going to tell some lesson. It's just a question of, did they get the point across well?
Yeah.
Was the lesson that they were trying to teach worth teaching? And there are some, most of them probably are. Some of them, no, they weren't. So
it's all in how you do it. One thing that I've always learned is, if you are going to go back in time, stay away from your mom and dad meeting, or else you could get Back to the Future happening. You'll start disappearing from photographs, and that's not good. And you'll have to play Johnny Be Good to get him dancing again. See, the thing is, I don't know exactly how
our son who is absolutely loving playing that song again and again and again. So it's all good anyway.
Well, he doesn't know the whole story. He just, look, Ethan loves music and dancing. And if your movie has music and dancing, and even if it's a movie we don't want him watching, he'll find a way to watch that.
If you haven't watched our previous video where we introduced ourselves, Ethan is our son with autism. He's got pretty severe autism, and one of his favorite things to do in the entire world is find videos on YouTube where they're singing and dancing and just play them again and again and again. I can remember when he was younger actually having moments where these songs that he would play, because he was, classic problem with autism is just not being able to sleep. So he would be up in the middle of the night and he would be playing his songs over and over, and they would bleed over into my dreams. So
some of these songs I have them stuck in my head like earworms. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be going to work, you'll be out and about doing something, and you've got his songs playing over and over again. And then as he's got older and he started singing the songs himself, he has such unique ways of singing and phrasing this stuff. So you start doing it the way that he does. And it's like you're just carrying Ethan around in your head all the time. And yeah, that's one of the interesting things about being an autism parent, I think, is just I'll be at my Bible study on Sunday nights and, just we'll start singing stuff that he's doing. And I'm going, this is completely not got anything to do with what we're talking about. It's out of the blue. It's not connected at all. And yet my ADD brain is just, which I'm not even ADD, but apparently my brain likes to ADD at times, will just be popping in these random lines. And, I'm sitting there up, down, left, right. I'm going to move my feet tonight. It's like, why?
And
because I've heard my son play this song a million times.
Bonus points in the comments if you know what song that's from. Don't say. No, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull engagement. But yeah, if you know what that song is from, write in the comments. Good luck, because I don't think you're going to get it.
Probably not.
No.
I think you would have to be an autism parent of a child that had that one song and just played it a million times for you to know.
Yeah, you have to live our life. I think we have covered a lot in this. We're going to put a bow on it and say that we were always destined to enjoy and to end this episode now, because it couldn't have ended any other way. Come see us next week. We'll have something new, different, or just a different take on some subject.
Or the same take just by us. The same take as other people have had.
Or I'll sit where you're sitting and you sit where I'm sitting, and we'll have the same take.
No, that would mess with me so bad.
It would mess with you? Okay. All right. It's fine. I like this side too. This is a nice side. It's fine.
We have a way. If we're going to change things up, then we'll have to sit change over there where we are, but we still have to be on the same side. My
timeline is going to go crisscross,
What if you start acting like me and bursting out into random tidbits of songs? That would be horrible. Whoa.